Time for another Roll for Crit. I'm Will Keeler.
I'm Jonathan Estes. So why don't we address first, right out of the gate, last week we talked about splitting up the podcast, which we have started doing. So you may have noticed you got some bonus highlight reel clips from the site. But we also did hear from some people that they like the longer format and vice versa. And I know I usually like a longer format when it comes to podcasts. So we are going to do both going forward in the future.
Yes, you're not losing. We're only adding the short videos.
Right. So if you just want the long ones, nothing's going to change. It's going to come out first. You're going to get to watch it all the same way.
We'll have links to all the short ones, by the way, in the description for this, because just in case you want to see what people are talking about on, let's say, for example, the Cthulhu pandemic, you can just click that link and see where people are talking.
And we'll bring that to you also later in this episode, because there were some pretty good comments from this last week. So that is that. So let's get into some news. Not quite as much crazy stuff as last week, but the first thing is there are rumors a-buzzing that supposedly it is possible for Hasbro and Mattel, toy giants.
Like almost the American.
Yeah, that's it. They're the two giants. They're the two hemispheres of the toy globe. There's two hemispheres, right? Or because half means half.
But really they're from one half, because we're speaking strictly the American hemisphere.
Anyway, they may be merging as a company. Whether there's specific details, whether one is buying the other, or if they're just merging. We don't really, because it's not a real thing yet. It's just something that people are buzzing
this is definitely
about.
very interesting about, because whether we like it or not, I think board games are very tied to the toy industry.
Whether we like it or not. Well, obviously Hasbro.
No, I mean Hasbro in particular.
But does Mattel really have...
They do Hot Wheels, don't they?
Yeah, I believe they do.
There's one I think could be interesting, because if they can bring... I think Hot Wheels actually could be something interesting board game style. Like somehow you build a track and actually do something.
It could be.
I think there's
I think they did also remember the Resident Evil deck building game that I think stopped being made? I think that was Mattel who published that.
So I think, we'll have to see what happens. But overall, we'll have to hear more of who takes over who, how's it happening. It's definitely a very interesting move.
It would be a pretty big deal because, as you said, these are the toy people.
Yeah, at least for North America.
Yeah.
I'm sure if you collect toys from
what else does Mattel have? Don't they have Power Rangers too?
I think so. Yeah.
But
I don't know anymore, because Power Rangers been passed around so much in America.
Yeah.
But it's definitely something to keep an eye out for.
Yeah. So
we definitely love to hear your experience if you're more, especially on the business side. Like, how do you think this would affect the marketplace? Do you think we're going to see a closing of certain toys? Do you think this will increase?
I don't know that it may not affect too much our audience, just because they don't, they stick very much to the more casual family
But
games.
That's why I'm hoping someone watching has some sort of a much higher, maybe really focus in the business in this kind of marketplace. Or
if they have kids, or just know, have more.
Yeah, maybe if you have a kid, does this scare you or make you excited because your kid happens to like a certain product by one of the two?
Yeah.
But definitely.
And then later, Asmodee will buy both of them anyway. It won't make any difference.
Already has them.
Right. So there's more big changeover news. Yeah, that's
this one I know.
Not the only thing. WizKids, they also do kind of dabble in the toy market if you stretch the definition of toy a little bit.
Well, no, not really a stretch, someone would argue.
Well, the lead guy from Z-Man Games, the guy who put the Z in Z-Man Games, Zev Schlesinger, he has left his position over there and is going over to be the new guy at WizKids.
Yes.
So this is a pretty major deal. There hasn't, we don't know exactly what this transition means for them yet, but I know in the press release they used some kind of phrasing that sounded to me like maybe he's bringing more of a board game focus to WizKids.
No, when I was thinking, I know we talked a while ago about WizKids, and because we were talking, this was off camera when we were just talking about companies. We're like, what games does WizKids board games have? Like, in my head, all I can think of is HeroClix, Dice Masters, neither of which I would argue is a board game, really, and then Mage Knight.
Yeah, and I'm sure they have a few others, but those are the big deals.
As you know, Mage Knight is on our 10x10, mostly because it's one that we both feel we have not given the attention it deserves, and the few times we have played it before, we've liked it. So, and I find this very curious because as of only recently, all of a sudden they've announced, I think, 2 Mage Knight expansions. One just came out, and another on the way. So this is definitely, I think, a sign that they're like, okay, let's maybe give board games like Mage Knight, let's...
Yeah, and then on the other, it also gives Zev, I call him Zev because we're friends.
Yeah, I know, you guys are always on the phone all the time.
Access now to all the licenses that
Well, actually, that was going to be the next thing I mentioned, because I know with Mage Knight, for example, there's the figure stuff, but there's also Mage Knight HeroClix. So now we can do the reverse, and maybe we can actually get, because one of the copies in particular that I know I want them to do, is they have Pacific Rim. And maybe a really cool Pacific Rim
Well, they are doing the Star Trek version of Mage Knight. It's not. Right. It's called something else, but it basically is
but
that.
I mean, they have the copyrights to maybe do some really cool, interesting stuff.
Yeah.
That isn't just random packs.
So, do you think maybe we'll see more, instead of putting it in HeroClix or Dice Masters, we'll get more Z-Man style games, which is a pretty distinct
While I
style.
say it's a stretch still, because they make the money off the random packs, the fact that we've seen expansions also from Mage Knight out of nowhere, because I can't remember when the last Mage Knight, before these recent ones announced, came out. And with him, I think it's a reasonable prediction.
It is kind of weird thing about it, because I assume WizKids is doing pretty well, because as we just alluded to, the collectible stuff is always super popular. So I wonder why, because it almost seems like usually you see the opposite, where companies they make more money from their collectible stuff and they want to go away from.
Well, yeah, but
games.
the problem with collectibles, and we saw, I think, in particular with Avengers versus X-Men, is if that's only Dice Masters, sorry, if that's that's the only thing you do, you got to keep on top of the meta, and if you release packs constantly, people can grow tired of your collectible really fast. By making developing a board games as well, your profits, there's a steady board game profit as long as collectible, and then you can it's sort of like they're putting their fingers in more pots to stay safe, and that way the funding can each help each other.
That makes sense. You also have a little bit more of a stability,
exactly.
And you don't have to work on it year round.
And also, you don't get in trouble when you release a set and it's terrible.
right. Unless you just release an expansion and it's terrible. But that's a whole other
ball
of wax. So yeah, cool. That's pretty cool. Hopefully, I'm curious. I'm curious if we'll really
fingers crossed.
If we'll even notice, if we'll be like, oh, this new WizKids game seems real Z-Man-y, or if it'll.
Well, I don't think, because did he actually develop games?
No, but I mean, he oversaw.
Right. That's why I think in my mind, it's more about the production.
As far as I know.
The production, rather than getting an author. It's not like seeing a director. It's more like seeing Maybe
he'll even bring some of those people over.
Well, sometimes they go to different companies. Now that he's there, they might actually go to WizKids with their board game.
Yeah, well, he's got a lot of relationships, I'm sure.
Yeah, so.
A lot of relationships.
Hopefully, good sign for us.
We got also some digital news this week.
Now, one of the most popular digital card games out right now, Hearthstone, is finally receiving the standard tournament style. What this is, if you don't know, is pretty much you're only allowed to use the cards from the most recent sets. So
I believe in the case of Hearthstone, they said it's the last calendar year.
Correct. So what this does is it forces you to learn to adjust your decks accordingly. I've actually watched a couple videos about this because it's very interesting. Speaking, also very funny to watch them as they're trying to say I think in Magic it's called this, but in this. In particular, because I know someone actually brought up one card in particular. I think it's called Dr. Boom, who's really strong.
Okay.
And the guy in particular said he is pretty strong, but he's not strong enough that he's overpowered. And now that standard's in play, as a designer, he was talking about how that makes it a lot easier for a designer because what usually happens when as a designer, let's say I make a set. And you don't have the standard play, you look at the set, you're like, okay, this one card, that's it. You don't give. But now that the flip, I can make a whole bunch of set of cards and be like, oh, now that card's So I think it makes it more interesting for the gamers. As a designer, you feel more like your cards are being used. It changes the curve in a much more manageable way. Really, especially in a format where most of it's free to play. I mean, you can buy packs, but it's I know you played it more.
You can definitely get away without spending too much money.
I think this is a great thing.
Yeah, I mean, at first, because also, I'm not just familiar. I don't play Magic. I don't know about the standard stuff. I guess the only potential bummer is if there's a card you really like and then they retire it and you can't use it anymore.
And I mean, I have that feeling,
Right.
but that's why there are other ways to play.
They have the other mode where everything's
Right.
game.
It's just, I think, and the other thing about Standard I should mention, which is great about it, it's much more inviting to new players.
Oh yeah.
Think about it. If I just joined in, which mode do you think I'm going to play? When everyone's only using the most recent set, so I have a chance to have the decent cards, or when everyone's already gathered their best cards and now are just walking around with their hunters and just decimating everyone.
That makes sense. The other thing they also did was now there's more slots to have your own custom decks. So
that's needed if you're going to make more.
Which I'm surprised it took them this long to add those. Like, why is there even a limit? How hard is it to? I don't know. And I'm sure.
Either way, I think Blizzard keeps making very good decisions with Hearthstone. I feel
every time they have an update, I'm always like, I should get back into it, and I never do.
Well, it's very hard to get into a collectible game. Trust me.
Oh yeah.
But no, and
I mean, it's I've played it for a while and it's fun, but I don't have time.
Yeah, so I think it's good. It's good for everyone all around.
So another small, different digital game, but also related, Magic: The Gathering Puzzle Quest, which we talked about a few weeks ago. We kind of tried it out briefly. They had an update also, not as big of a deal, but they added some new modes. One basically is a quick battle, so you get a pre-made deck and you can just jump into a battle against an AI opponent. The other one is each Planeswalker now has 5 different kind of quest battles, which are different. They're different from a normal battle in that they actually have some kind of they change the rules a little bit, so it's more like a puzzle that you have to.
It's more related to a story.
Figure out. Yeah, like it'll give them some kind of I think it's called heroic mode is what it is.
No, I think
they're encounters or something.
Judging by what we've played with it, I think that's a smart move. I mean, first of all, it's a puzzle game, giving something that's a little bit puzzles. This is a great way for Magic to throw in a little story. Because, for example, I know they released the Origin set a little while back to explain the history. For example, which I would call their main mascot out of all the Planeswalkers, Jace, their blue Planeswalker. We find out that he was actually a servant to a Sphinx who was using him. And then
that old story.
Then finally they did like a telepathic battle. And then Jace tricked the Sphinx into his own mind, then collapsed his own head and stuff, so it wiped all his memory. So like if there's like a puzzle, like you had to actually fight the Sphinx and somehow make it so you did like a chain or something.
Right.
So I think it's a great way to sort of mix the story in with the game and in a way that goes out and sort of it rewards people going out of the game, so to speak.
Yeah,
but not in a way that's too much, like you don't get it unless you go out of the game.
Right. Anytime you can add extra modes for single player, I mean, it's never a bad thing.
And even more so, I think nowadays, which is seen a lot, particularly in video games because they're the ones failing at it, but like people want to see the backstory in the games, in the world, in the stories, and giving them a way that puts it in the game. For example, in this, you actually play the puzzle. Instead of being like you play a puzzle, you don't know why, and then all of a sudden you unlock a little book where you have to read. Like it's actually your gameplay is part of the story.
Yeah. That's
and I
definitely
think
cool.
This is a good job of mixing the two together.
I agree. We should go play it some more.
Yeah, there's a lot of things we should play.
Now, there are about 1 billion Kickstarters from this week. I think the number was 8 billion. And there's some big ones too. So
yeah.
Let's start Kickstarter Pickstarter off with the biggest one that there is.
Yeah.
Well, you could argue. I'd say it's the biggest one. In terms of price and size. And that is the new Walking Dead miniatures game from Mantic Games.
We actually talked about this before
when
we last recorded. And of course, as soon as we recorded it came up the next day.
Right. So it's a straight up miniatures game. You're playing as different teams. And the zombies are all AI.
Neutral, yeah.
Yeah. So no one plays as them. So the walkers,
yes.
Whatever you want to call them. And yeah, it's like we talked about pretty much. You're fighting groups. You're fighting for territory, for supplies, while trying to avoid the zombie enemies, which are like you said again AI controlled. And then there's mats, there's boards and tiles and stuff. But your movement is all like with measuring.
Do they come with like story scenarios and things like that?
Oh yeah, I'm sure there's.
Because I think that's where this game, I don't know, many miniatures, feel free to come wrong, can really shine, is giving us more scenarios that are, I would argue, more puzzly with a moral question in there.
Right.
Like, The Walking Dead is that.
Yes.
So I see.
You want that, and I think that's almost built in. It's like inherent to
the... I think the fact that you didn't make it... I really love the idea of the fact that zombies aren't controlled. It wasn't just, all right, humans versus zombies.
Yeah.
It really is.
No, I completely agree. That makes it so much more interesting because, like, the potential scenarios where you're fighting a human, but you're both worried about the zombies.
Well, and the other thing is,
fun.
zombies. It's not like making the zombies neutral and having them have like whenever they move this way or this way, whatever their rules are. I don't feel is like takes away. It's not like making the like stormtroopers neutral. Like, cause like they, depending on the platoon, no, zombies are pretty.
It makes perfect
Yeah.
sense. Yeah, they should be brain dead. They should literally. They're not, and figuratively, which is a pun because they're figures.
Yes.
So, yeah, Walking Dead. I mean, the unfortunately that game cost $125.
Well, it's a miniatures game.
Yes, there's a ton of stuff in it. So if you're in it, you're getting.
Look, if you
into
like
it.
miniatures and Walking Dead. Probably within, it's probably.
I mean, it's well funded. It's going to be a success. So that's
a lot of
pretty
these
cool.
are funded. I feel like a lot of these are all funded within like 24 hours.
Yeah, but good people have
I don't
money
just
to
mean
burn.
this Kickstarter. I mean like all these Kickstarters we're going through.
So the next one, another gigantic license, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles from IDW. This one goes for $90, so a little less. But this one, so it sounds really cool. So first of all, I didn't know this. It's from the guy who designed, among other games, Descent and Arkham Horror, the Fantasy Flight one.
All right, so we already know that
The
story.
latest edition.
Story. This is it.
Right.
Well, you can almost tell because the fact that he actually used artwork from the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yeah, and all the art
he
looks
didn't-
like that.
I know the miniatures are based, but the fact that he chose to look back that far is a very good sign.
And I know, like,
He didn't have to.
No, definitely not. But I know based on when we played X-Files from IDW, we were one of our regrets or dismays was that it's not as thematic as I wanted it to be. I think both of us. But based on the designer.
Well, so to be fair, I didn't really watch that many.
I don't want to get
X-Files
into
then.
it too much, but yeah.
Yeah, so I could. It's really you because I can't comment on that.
But with this game, like
then.
from the designer, at the very least, whether it's good or bad, I know they're attempting to deliver what I want, which is that thematic experience. And so what's really cool about it, so in this one person does play as the enemies. One person is Shredder and the rest, or whoever it may be, which is kind of a bummer to me because, I mean, at least personally, I feel like I'd always want to be a turtle. I don't want to be...
Look. Just play the Platinum video game.
Right. But what's so cool, I think, is the way it works, as a turtle at least, you're rolling dice, or probably the same if you're April O'Neil or whoever else.
Heroes.
On the cooperative side, and you actually can share the dice or your potential moves and actions, and you can share them with the people sitting next to you. So if you didn't roll what you really wanted, you can work with what people have around you. So it really feels cooperative in that way.
Well, I think one of the things that does is it makes it more likely that everyone is doing their thing. You don't have that one guy just rolling,
right?
and you just wait for him to do his thing.
If your luck is bad, you can work through it.
And I think it'll make it a lot more interesting. Fun, like, okay, what'd you have? I have this. Oh, trade this, but I need that too. Like, you know.
I'm pretty excited. I hope it'll be really good. I have high hopes. They still haven't. The gameplay video will be out soon. We still haven't actually seen it.
I think
in action
actually
yet.
in 2 days.
Yeah,
of this recording.
Might be right
actually,
now.
No, because I believe it was February 8th.
February 8th. So you'll find it.
Should be when this video comes out. So.
Maybe not. So could be a day earlier. I don't know. So check that out because that one I think is going to be pretty cool. Again, $90 for that. Then we go on to less outrageous things. So this one I don't think we need to spend too much time on because we've already talked about it. The Opulence, which comes from our friends at Black Locust Games, and we got to play it at Board Game Geek.
Yeah,
Con.
this was...
Gen Con we played.
I mean, well, you should check out our video on it. It really was just a great game because what it does is a cooperative game, but wasn't like you're all trying to do the same thing. You literally have completely different mechanics.
For just a brief summary, it takes place in a speakeasy in the 1920s, and you're just trying to manage it. And there's missions.
You know what it reminds me a lot of? If you're a really big fan of games like Space Cadets, where you each have your own thing, but even though you have your own thing, you have to all work together.
Yeah.
That's what this feels like, which is cool though, because anytime I've seen that kind of mechanic, it's only been for spaceships. Not that that's bad.
Right.
It's really fun. It just works for that.
Yeah, the theme is very different
but
and cool.
It's different, but it works. I mean, and I loved being the bartender because I actually did feel like the thing was it wasn't just placement. I was thinking like, how long can I stretch out my whiskey? And like,
Right.
like it was really good. And then I had to actually think about making deals with the Irish or the Italian mob. I mean, it was a lot of fun.
So go check it out because we have fuller thoughts on our actual. That if you actually go to that Kickstarter page, you can scroll down and our video is linked there. So that's that for all your opulent needs.
And how much was that going for now?
That I think is $45. So we're down into the reasonable level now, now for board games. Next, though, this one I had to talk about looks super cool. It is called Escape the Room in a Box. Escape Room in a Box. This first one is the Werewolf Experiment. I assume they're planning on making more.
Well, I assume if there's another, yeah.
And we know about those escape room things where you go there in real life with your friends and you kind of have to all solve a puzzle together. It's based on the escape room video games, et cetera, et cetera. This attempts to bring that experience to the home in a box. You don't have to go anywhere. You don't have to buy tickets. You just get one thing. And there's props in there. There's puzzles. There's wheels, dials, all kinds of stuff.
I think it's a great idea. I can already think. I know Neil Back to Game. I forget what it's called, but you actually put cards around the house, and it was a haunted house.
Right. This house is haunted.
Right, and that I thought was fun. I mean, we love the Mansions of Madness that actually has the little puzzles in it. I mean, it seems like a perfect idea. I'm shocked it took so long for someone to do it.
Yeah, remember at Board Game Geekcon when we did that puzzle hunting thing? It's kind of like that. Yeah, it looks really cool. The one potential downside is that it's basically a one-time use. And they will be selling refill packs, so like you can restart the game again at a smaller price.
You know, I'm curious because we thought the same thing with Time Stories though. But if you took it to a different group of friends, so it might not be as one time as you think. If you make the experience good enough, like a video game, you might play it again.
No, I agree, and it looks like it's pretty compelling, and just the novelty of being able to do that at least one time is pretty cool.
No, how much does it go for?
This one is $45 also. So yeah, $45, and like, well, you know, based on they make the comparison, a real escape room, you're probably spending like $30 per person.
Yeah, no.
So it's a pretty good deal.
That's why I was like, yeah, I don't think. Well, and like I said, if you know, like I know I might play with you guys, and there's my family, so really you probably can get. I think you can get probably 2 to 3 plays out of it. Yeah, easily, not too hard.
Right. Ramping back up, the next one is called Battle Stations. And this is pretty cool. It's the second edition of a game that came out a while ago, but we've never seen it or played it, I don't think, unless you have and haven't told me. And this is their big selling thing is that it's an RPG board game hybrid, takes place in space. So not only do you have ship miniatures battling, but you're also seeing a zoomed-in view of the interiors of the ships, where there's missions, there's storylines, you're doing crazy things, you're rolling dice. So it brings both aspects. It's kind of like you're playing X-Wing and also playing Space Alert a little bit, but more open-ended. They compare it also to FTL, the video game, if you like that. So it looks really cool. This one is $125. It's a huge thing. But at least that's the like the complete package. They do have lower tiers that come with less stuff in it, but there's books. It's a big crazy
Check it out. It's definitely something where you can customize and buy what you want.
Yeah, so that one we recommend.
Right. And now, you know, it wouldn't be Kickstarters if we didn't touch a little bit on Cthulhu.
Right, so we have 2 more that are both Cthulhu themed. The first one is Mythos Tales.
Yes, this is really cool. This actually is a lot like the game Sherlock Holmes, in which you actually are cooperatively trying, or I think you can do somewhat competitive. No, you do cooperative to solve a mystery. And there is a guy who's like Sherlock who you can do competitive against. That's why I got screwed up. Which odds are, if it's like our experiences, you're always going to lose to him.
Technically, you can play consulting detective competitive also, but why would you want to?
But it's really cool. This Kickstarter is for the hardcover. I've actually backed this. It's not soft. And it's already gotten a 9th story, already on the path to get 10th. And all the intros and answers are going to be professionally voiced on the CD.
Like
so you're actually going to be able to put in and be like, detectives, this mystery is being solved. I mean, that's so cool.
No, I think this is awesome.
And I feel like it's actually something we're not used to with Cthulhu. It's not really battling.
Right.
And of course, you know, we just want more puzzles.
No, I would love it if this started a trend, which Consulting Detective, I guess, already did, of just different companies making different versions of this with different themes. I think it applies itself to so many different stories and variations.
Oh, yeah, no. I mean, I'd have no problem if they made, like, in space detective thing or something like you actually have to... Like, it's easy. There's so much good stuff.
Yeah, you could do anything. It's
so, I mean,
perfect.
If you like detectives, this is I would say it's definitely look into.
And the final one.
Right. The final one is actually an expansion.
So we just talked about Chuck Yeager doing the new Cthulhu Pandemic last week. Well, here he is back again with an expansion for Rise of Cthulhu.
Yes. In Rise of Cthulhu, what the game is, we've played it before, it's pretty much you're two cultists and you try to get the favor of the gods in certain areas. Whoever has the most points wins. And this is an expansion, adds a couple new elder gods like Dagon, I think his name is.
Sure.
But it also adds the investigators, who are nosing around and being annoying. So it adds that third sort of thing you expect from him, because usually the investigators are meddling anyways. So now we actually get that in expansion. So cool thing to add for Rise of Cthulhu. Definitely curious. It was very funny to see how this and right next to Cthulhu Pandemics. I'm like, did you actually finish this first? Like, I wonder. I'm curious timelines.
It's a secret marketing ploy, I think.
I mean, maybe what if this came like with a promo card for Cthulhu Pandemic, and Cthulhu Pandemic came with a promo card for this?
That's a good one. I like the way you think. They should hire you.
No, because they already do that with other games.
So that one is only $13, and also Mythos Tale goes for $40. We didn't say, and that's from 8th Summit.
But like I said, that comes with now 9 cases in a hardcover book.
So if you want your Cthulhu fix, check it out. Those are our gigantic Kickstarters for the week. Really, really good ones. So
yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, it was hard to narrow down.
I even cut a few more out that I thought was cool. So
it was.
Check them all out. Now, before we go, I want to go through our viewer comments because we had some really, really good ones.
Yeah.
And some pretty interesting ones. So first up, we have Chris Schreiber. We talked about the game Cry Havoc from Portal that's coming out, and we kind of made fun of its title a little bit. Well, he points out the origin of the title actually comes from, it was actually used in Julius Caesar by Shakespeare, if you didn't know, as in Cry Havoc and Let Slip the Dogs of War. You've heard that
Yes,
phrase.
I have.
So, and then he actually went through the origin and the definition of
I have no problem with
each word.
You see, I'm happy someone did the research, so it's actually like,
cool.
Look, we didn't just take a bag of words.
Right, no.
There is
some stuff for that.
There is some.
And then we alluded to also he wanted to know our thoughts on the new Portal logo since we kind of brushed over it.
Well, we found it very interesting. Pretty much we decided that, or from what we discussed, that the new Portal logo is definitely more of a fun logo. While I felt the old one I'd expect the new logo on Imperial Settlers, while I expect the old logo on State 51.
51st State.
51st State.
Yeah. No,
that's pretty much. I think how.
Yeah, they definitely both lend themselves to different impressions, but I can understand why.
Oh yeah, no, I don't. I understand why they did it.
Like I feel like in terms of how I see Portal, I think this logo a little better represents. They kind of have more of a fun, easygoing. At least that's what they want to give people, less than the we're war military. Blah, 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 blah.
No, I'm not arguing with you there. And
yeah,
overall, overall, their games do that. They're some of our favorite games.
So we like the old one, we like the new one. They do different things. Shaolin Manny was upset about what I said about Go.
I told you!
I called Go a bad game. They went through, why I should give it another chance.
Have you given it a chance?
Yeah, I gave it another chance. I actually played it a lot more. No, I didn't play it at all. So anyway, look, I was kind of joking. I think Go is actually pretty cool. I actually like those kind of abstract games, but as far as what I really lean towards, it's just not. Abstract games aren't usually my cup of tea. But anyway, Go. Sorry about that. It's Go fans. Tick is great. Also excited for Pandemic Cthulhu. Is going to be buying it because they don't have the original Pandemic. So as we said, perfect fit for them. And they want us to do a playthrough of Study in Emerald because they want to know.
So the new one.
Yeah.
Oh, you can't do thumbs. It's not there anymore.
It's not there anymore.
Yeah.
They want to know how it is.
Hey, if someone asks it, we'll do it. So keep an eye out. We'll get it pretty soon.
Chris Handley, not to be confused with Chris Handy, designer of Paco Game, had some knowledge to drop about Night Models when we were talking about their new Marvel Miniatures line.
Awesome.
First of all, they don't do pre-paints, so we weren't sure if they're going to come pre-painted or not. It won't be. That was it for Night Models. It's actually just one knowledge. Then they also talked about Golem Arcana, reasons why they think the game did not succeed. They were not fans of it, didn't like the quality of the miniatures, didn't like the technology, app crashed, so...
Yeah, no, that's... When I heard people talk, it was mostly because I always heard people said like they couldn't get the app to work, and there's just so many problems there. So
yeah, and then finally, both Falcon Ash K and Raphaelis13 had some really cool tips for Dungeons and Dragons dungeon mastering. They had some really good suggestions. First, for how to speed
wait, hold
up.
on. Are we allowed to hear this?
You're
Because
allowed
you may
to
use
hear
them.
One's for how to speed up combat. The other one is about adding potions of healing for when people don't always use their healing as much as they should, such as in our group. So I won't get into it, but if you play D&D, definitely you should probably read these comments because they're definitely helpful.
No, and I mean you in particular, since you actually are the DM.
Yeah, no, I was like, thank you. Please, if you have any more tips for being a DM.
No, you're just like, my group's terrible. Please help me.
Yeah, bring them to
I've
us.
actually, on a random thing, I saw a post talking about silly D&D things and then people's responses, which gave me sort of tips of how I should act as a player to you. Like, I need to sort of, not as much like just be, like if you say there's a dungeon, I'm like, I'm going to go left and just explore the opposite direction. But to not just make things so straightforward to you, for example. And like they said some really funny things that they did because someone brought up.
Yeah,
sort of make things interesting on your end a bit more.
Okay, I like that.
Like how to interact with certain characters. I don't want to say them right now.
Okay, yeah, I like that. Okay, so that'll be good. So, and if you want to hear more about us playing RPGs, we talked about it last week, but the playthrough of our session playing Catalyst is now up. So you should go check that out because it's really cool. And we will have another playback video this week. It's going to be Patchwork.
Yeah.
So look forward to that. And there's more that we could talk about, but we will get to it on another day. I think we should. For now, we will wrap things up. So if they want to check out all the stuff we talked about today, where can they do it?
Oh, wow. Well, the best place to do it is our own site, rollforcrit.com. Yeah. It has all our videos, plenty of other news articles. You can buy almost a lot of the games we talked about. So much good stuff.
Neil did an interview with these guys from Kodo Cube who make some cool dice-related stuff, so check that out for another scoop.
And of course, you saw us read a bunch of comments. These all came from YouTube videos, which you should just write down there and click subscribe. Really easy. But of course, there's so many other ways to contact us.
There's so many ways. For instance, email rollforcrit@gmail.com or Twitter @rollforcrit or our personal Twitters. However you like. Subscribe to us on iTunes. Follow us on Twitter.
And of course, like we said, back on our site, you can leave reviews for games or leave comments on the news articles there. We'll look at them all.
We'll look at them all. And if you have a suggestion just for something you want to hear us talk about in the future on the show, like we are wont to do, please don't be shy. We'll do it. We'll do it. That's been episode number 82 of Roll for Crit podcast. This guy over here is Will Keeler.
And this guy over here is Jonathan Estes. And this is Roll for Crit.
Yeah.